Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. We're going to talk about practicing walking with Jesus in your daily life. And I hope you had a great worship yesterday. And let's begin, right? To Be with Jesus series. Family isn't just about sharing a last name or living under the same roof. It's about who you are and who you share that life with. The people you eat with, the people you laugh with, the people you argue, and somehow at the end of the day, you come back together, make things right. Even when everyone's off doing their own things, there's this unspoken understanding that we're in this together. That's a family. And I think that's exactly how we're supposed to walk with Jesus. Not a Sunday morning routine, not a backup plan when things are falling apart, but a daily, steady, always there kind of relationship. Some people go through programs like a YWAM discipleship training school, which is, by the way, a wonderful program. And if you get a chance to do it, you should go do it. And by the time they come out of this program, they are fired up. Their faith is strong. Their hearts are softer. And they've seen God move in ways that they've never imagined. And that's incredible. But the real challenge is not while they're going through the program. The real challenge is after the program is done. A year later, maybe a month later, a year later, what I notice is that a lot of people, they cannot sustain that relationship with Jesus. I actually know 3 people who went through DTS, and they all fell back and became what they were before, and one of them, unfortunately, doesn't even go to church anymore. A few months later, it's over. See, it's not DTS though. DTS is a wonderful program. Like I said, you should try it if you get a chance. It's the same thing with church discipleship program. While you're in it, you're desiring to grow, you're maturing, there is accountability, you're soaking in the information and the word, and you're walking with the Lord. But the moment the meetings end, the momentum slows. The same with retreats and special conferences. They simply cannot sustain and last. You could have an inspiring worship on Sunday, but that's inspiration, but it won't last. It won't sustain you. Because faith is not built on a structured program. It's built in the everyday, when no one's watching, when life feels boring, when nothing's big or dramatic is happening. A retreat cannot fix what only a daily discipline can. A retreat cannot fix what only a daily quiet time can. So how do we stay close to Jesus for the long haul? We can't just live in a church bubble. But God has given us something simple yet powerful. It's called self-reflection. Socrates said, an unexamined life is not worth living. We need to examine ourselves and evaluate ourselves and correct the courses where it needs. Every day we should be asking, am I actually walking with Jesus today? Not just believe in Him, not just know about Him, but truly walking with Him, aware of His presence. And I don't think it has to be complicated. Some people roll their eyes at journaling, saying it's too much effort. But let's be honest. We keep track of things that matter to us. Does Jesus matter to you in your life? Then you need to keep track of your relationship with Him. You need to check up on yourself. You need to evaluate your relationship with Jesus like you do at work. You evaluate your work, your projects to make it better. The issue isn't time or effort. The issue is desire. The real question is, do we actually want Jesus? Do we actually want to live in a way that God has called us to live? Last year in 2024, 2 of my brothers, Dan and Enoch, made their trip to Mount Everest. They weren't climbing to the top. That's for the real mountain climbers. They were climbing to Everest base, which is still quite high, 17,598 feet above sea level. And that's not easy. So they hired a guy who led the way with a heavy backpack and the help of a guide. They just started to climb that base. And guess what? They kept checking up on each other. They checked in constantly because you don't ignore your guide. He's the lifeline, right? As you're climbing this mountain that you've never been before. You're traveling with him. You have to ask, hey, where are we going right now? Which way are we going to go? You need to know the best route. What can we expect today? And you're walking with him towards that base. I think walking with Jesus is no different. Every morning, before anything else, we ought to be asking, Lord, where are we going today? Because staying close to Him isn't automatic. It doesn't just happen because you're a Christian. It's effort, it's intentionality, it's scheduling, a daily decision to walk with Him instead of drifting on your own. And I know a lot of people like to drift on their own. And I think one of the best ways to stay on track is write it down. Write down your journey. That's why it's called the To Be With Jesus journal. I might just call it Abiding Journals. It's shorter. But it's not a conference high or retreat high. It's daily, steady, all in. It's praying with Him, working with Him, raising kids, handling friendship, handling your relationships, handling your money, even the hard stuff, confrontations, forgiveness, tough conversation. None of it ought to be separate from Him. He ought to be involved in all of those things. I know it's hard. It's hard for me. It's hard for all of us. But we want to start that journey. It's easy to talk about Jesus inside the church walls, even though I find many Christians don't even talk about Jesus inside the church nowadays. And then they go into the world and they act like Jesus is an option, not essential. But you have to realize Jesus is already there. In every event, every decision, every breath. For some, it's comforting. For others, it's intimidating. But you just got to really know that Jesus is already there. Whether you realize it or not, He is there. Years ago, after a retreat, one of our teenagers in the youth group accepted Jesus and turned from his old ways of living. I mean, he was involved with some rough guys. And this kid was a troublemaker, right? So I got him a necklace, and it's sort of like a reminder. It was a military doggy tag style with a Bible verse that reminded him of Jesus. So I gave it to him. He wore it, and he was reminded of Christ each day, that Jesus is with him. A few weeks later, I didn't see that doggy tag around his neck. So I asked him, hey, what happened? He goes, it's too much. I can't do it. Because he didn't want to give up the things that he was doing. It was intimidating. He knew Jesus was there. And instead of giving up sin, he gave up Jesus. How about you? Do you keep your sin and leave Jesus at home? What's interesting is that new believers are usually full of joy. They've just encountered grace in a fresh way. But some people who've been in church for many, many years, even decades, they look worn out. They sound bitter. They act jaded. A pastor once joked about the fact that the grumpiest people in the church, you look around the church, you look at everybody, the grumpiest people are the ones who've been there the longest. He said that out of joke, but I think there's some reality to that. And let's be honest, it's funny because it's true. But why? How can someone who's walked with Jesus for 30 years seem more weighted down than someone who just met Him? When Jesus said, come unto me and I'll give you rest, it just seems like sometimes people have been in church for so many years and they don't look like they've been resting. The problem isn't how long they've been around. It's whether they've actually been around and moving with Him. Being near Jesus and walking with Him are two different things. Time alone doesn't change you. Growth does. If they have been walking with Him daily, be with Him daily, invite Him daily, their faith would be deeper, their light brighter, their joy unshakable. See, so many times people know about Jesus, what He has done as recorded in the scriptures. But they haven't spent enough time walking with Him. Some people start a To Be With Jesus journal expecting fireworks every day. They want dramatic instant transformation, like they've just woken up one morning and everything just changes. It's like a magic wand. Whoop, it's done. Completely changed. But that's not how it works. The way it works is that you need to walk consistently each day. If you are that person, you may be thinking, what's the point then? But our walk with Jesus is not a one-time deal. It's the small, daily steps that will get us to the fullness of joy. the quiet moments, the habits of checking in, staying close, and actually walking with him, actually inviting him into our life and dealing with issues with him, walking with him, not just stand near him. You know, as I mentioned before, Jesus is knocking at the heart's door. It's interesting that he's knocking at the heart's door of those who already accepted him. But it's because sometimes we put him out the door. Let's get this straight. Walking with Jesus isn't about chasing one big moment after another. Even Paul, who got literally knocked to the ground by Jesus himself, didn't have an earth-shattering encounter every single day. Imagine if he did that. If he had met Jesus every single day, these amazing encounters, he'll never get anything done. That's not how God works. I mean, think about him. He met Jesus and he got blind. We blinded every single day. What can he do? The real foundation of faith, that you must believe, and I mean really believe, without a shadow of doubt, that Jesus is with you. It's one of the hardest things for Christians. Right now, he's with you. Whether you're making coffee, stuck in traffic, drowning in emails, or walking through something that feels impossible, he is there. And if you believe that, really believe it, it'll change everything. It's a journey for sure. You know, an old friend of mine said, life is like a construction site. You're always in the process of being made. And that's true. I mean, look at Joseph. If he had spent his life waiting for some grand miracle to pull him out of the mess that he was in because of his brothers and lying person and the prison system, he would have crumbled. He would have cried. He would have been crushed under the weight of his circumstances. Sold as a slave, locked in prison for something he didn't do, forgotten. If anyone had a reason to quit, it was Joseph. But he didn't. Why? Because he knew God was with him, and that was enough. Potiphar saw it. The prison guards saw it. Joseph didn't need a burning bush and an angelic choir. He had a quiet, unshakable confidence that God hadn't left him. And that's the kind of faith that holds steady. That's what we need. And that's what you need today. That's what I need today. That's what we need to be reminded of every day. I don't have all the answers about my life, my future, or even what comes next year or this year. But I do know this. That's okay. Because God is with me. I don't have to have it all figured out. The details will come together in his time. As I said before, God is never early. God is never late. He's always on time. And you must decide. You must be able to say, enough is enough. I don't want to be a half-hearted, lukewarm Christian anymore. I don't want to be sometimes a schizophrenic Christian, high one day, low next day. I'm going to die for Jesus one day and run from him. If you want to walk with Jesus, you can't keep leaving the back door open. No more escape routes. No more retreating faith like a hobby. You can pick it up at your convenience. Set your eyes on him and lock in and take the first step. You got to lock in. It's not about having all the answers, right? It's not about knowing the whole plan. In fact, when you look at the scripture, God rarely shares the whole plan. It's about step by step, trusting in him day by day, right there, walking with you. And that changes everything. As a deer pants for the water, so my soul longeth after you. Do you pant for water every once a week or every single day? Every day you need water. And so every day we need the word. Every day we need Christ. And every day, like today, we need to invite him into the things that we involve ourselves in. So if you're watching this in the morning, invite him. In your washing, in your driving, when you get to your office, invite him into that space. If you're in a cubicle in your office, when you meet your client, invite him. I mean, you don't have to say it out loud, right? I invite you, Christ, your client sitting right in front of you. When you're about to share your a report or research or a project with your team, invite him. Invite him into everything and consciously be aware. And at the end of the day, write down how you did. Maybe today I can end with what I wrote last night. And it was a long day, right? It was a long day yesterday. And this is what I wrote. Let me find it and then I'll share it with you. I had a real difficulty today focusing. After morning meeting, sermon prep, PowerPoint, outline, I realized I didn't invite Jesus. Again, I find myself doing for Jesus, but not with Jesus. It's like my brain and habits are still forming. I need to break out of this shell. I'll do better. And tonight I get to reevaluate. We had a worship. I worshiped the Lord, and you're inviting Him into the space that I'm in. I'm sharing the word. I preached for the Chinese side as well today, inviting Him. It's a daily walk. It's a daily work. Some days are better than others, and I pray that today is the best day for you and best day for me. God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.